Everybody. This is Max Farrow. This is Dex Trader and the Dex family of systems, but really ultimately we're down to being Our City Investments LLC. This is our I guess our mother company, if you will. I am joined with Mike Ficca, who's with us tonight. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Max. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well.
Excellent.
Mike and I are going to talk about a few things tonight, but ultimately enough, it's going to be more about your mentality and working within a process of our system. We refer to this as the trader's mind. And before I go all Tony Robbins on you, I want you all to know that there's a method to this madness. There is a real psychological mountain you're going to run into if you're not very careful when you first begin to trade. So I'm going to go through the webinar. I'm going to be talking to Mike back and forth. We're then going to show you some practical stuff that we do, not just from in our series of indicators and signals and stuff, but even on the free side of stuff that you can do and you can participate on to help better you as a trader and help get you to that next level. Whether or not you're making a decision to be a customer or already a customer, it doesn't matter. We're going to kind of show you through that process. All right, so let's get started. Earnings and risk disclaimer. Everything we're going to show you is about your education. But it's supposed to be trade assist. It's supposed to help you through that process. My results may be different than yours, than Mike's, than John's, than anybody else that's in there. So don't feel like you have to perform at a certain level at any one time to be exactly matched to what we're doing. It never will be. Whether you'll be doing better than me or worse than me or what have you, okay? My name is Max Farrow. If you don't already know, I'm one of the owners here, along with just about every owner of the company is in this room right now. Amy Cuthbert, Brian Farrow, Mike Ficca, and myself. We have another one, Paul Davey, who is out and about over in England and on the Jersey Islands, and he takes care of some of the morning stuff. Between us, we have developed this company to really be about customer service and being able to help people. And you're going to see that transparency and that sincerity in this series here. Like I said, Mike Ficca, he's on board with us tonight. One of the senior traders and partners, and I'll explain to you a little bit about who he is and what he's done. A little bit about me. When we started Our City Investments, this was formed after we had gotten ripped off for about $115,000. Some of you may have heard this story. Some of you may not. But in the world of international binaries and that whole time period about 3 or 4 years ago, even still today, this industry is riddled with scam artists. And if you haven't found that out yet, then you haven't been looking. And if you haven't been looking, thank God you haven't. Because there's a tremendous amount of people out there that are very good at taking your money. Isn't that right, Mike?
Absolutely. I'm a victim.
Yeah. I think, well, basically, you have Amy Kuipers, Brian Farrow, myself, and Mike that are in this room that are all victims of being ripped off money. And Mike's money's not even included in this $115,000. You could probably almost put another $20,000 or $30,000 on top of that for his side of it. Now, the sad part is that when we first started looking to try to find a place, we couldn't find. You know, we originally were looking for a signals company. Why I got into binaries to begin with is I had an entertainment company. I had good money coming in. I wanted to diversify income. I was told about international binaries. John says he's a victim too. I'm sorry. I feel like we're like a victim survival class here, you know, Victims Anonymous. International BO Anonymous, BOA. There you go. But the time really came down to that we had to find something. And after we'd gotten ripped off, we decided that we were going to really research all the companies out there before we got involved with them. And thank God I did, because we ran into so many more scam artists along the way. Now, there are some companies out there that are honest. They're real companies, right? They just suck at what they do. And I'm not trying to be an ass about that. I really ain't. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that have their websites are convoluted, their training is redundant, and it's so hard to navigate, and there's so many things that were happening. I couldn't literally give because I had 20, 30 people with me for my partnerships and my the staff that we had over at Our City. we had all these people over there, and I wanted to teach them how to trade. And I needed to make their money back, because that $115,000 is not including the people that trusted me to invest in overseas binaries as well, that heard me talk about how good I was doing, but to find out we could never withdraw our money, which is a pretty damn good scam, because by the time you figure it out, your money's gone. So we couldn't find a good signals company and a broker to trust until we ran into Nadex, and we found the broker. So we decided that we were going to make a signals company. Now, I needed to learn how to trade. So how was I going to do that? Nobody would teach me. Nobody would teach me the way I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn simple stuff. I didn't want to learn, the charting platforms and how to make networks. And, I saw one company that when I first started trading, that had me open up a Ninja Trader network and all these things. It was so complicated. It was so convoluted. I had 15 different indicators on my charts, and they were telling me to follow this, follow that, do this, follow this. I just couldn't do it. I just wanted something simple that I could trust, that I could see work, that I could see other people work, and be able to talk to those people. Because when you tried to call any of them, you couldn't get anybody. This all goes towards our state of affairs and our mindset when we trade. Because isn't there always just a little bit of each of us that we wonder when we're trading a system or a program or a signal or a strategy? Is this really going to work? And this really starts to play against you. And the only way you get to see if something will work, Mike, is how. How do you get to see if something happens or that something will work for you? How do you get to find that solution?
Well, you learn about the system, and then you test the system. You demo.
Right, you have to work it. And in order to do that, you got to put the time in. You got to give its due justice. My experience comes from researching and building and testing. Now, we're only talking 3.5 years ago that we got ripped off in this industry. And so in that 3.5 years, it took me about a year to really kind of teach myself. I worked with Chris Capri, I worked with Apex, I worked with BTG, and there was all these big companies and these people that were just kind of starting out in those processes. And one thing that I took away from each one of them, whether it was what to do or what not to do, was that you had to be in a right mindset to be able to trade, right? But that's the one thing none of them talked about. They all talked about Chris Capri kind of talks about it for a little bit in some of his series, but it wasn't his main focus. And I believe that it should be your main focus, because it begins and ends with you. You're the only thing that will make you successful. My system won't make you successful. My system is like a hammer that sits on the ground. It won't work for you. It's not some automated trading bot. Do we have those? Yeah, of course. But it's this system of being able to trade is not that. Even you have to put it on and start it. So it still revolves around you. You have to use it responsibly. I could teach 3 people how to trade. The first person comes in and hits themselves with the hammer, and hits their finger. And the other person comes in and builds a house. And the other person comes in and builds a church. So it all really depends on who's using the device. And if you don't know how to handle the device, you could end up getting hurt. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yes, big time.
All right. Now, one of the other things that I knew right from the beginning, and I've done this all my life, I've researched and I tested things at getting in, from being in the military for 16 years, working at Procter & Gamble, being a DJ, working all different types of things. I have more trades than Hershey has chocolate, right? One thing I have learned is that unless you have data behind you, unless you know what has happened in the past, you will not be able to move into the future. This is one of the most successful things we've done, is to data collect. Now, some very powerful tools went into building this network and the solution for this company, for signals and trader and all that stuff. But we're not here to talk about that. One of my main mantras that I always stick by is to take the complicated and make it simple. My grandfather told me a long time ago, it's the act of a genius who could take something complicated and make it simple. Now, I don't consider myself a genius, but what I had done is genius-like, because I'm going to show you how I take all that complex BS that you see out there, of the You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to trade 50 million times to be able to get to this, and it's going to take you 10 years to get there. And I'm going to break it all down into some very easy to understand components. Okay? A little bit about Mike Ficca. We call it Blame It on Mike Ficca. But Mike started off here as a customer, somebody who came in and bought in. How long ago was that, Mike?
August last year.
Last year. So a little bit more than a year right now. Congratulations. We missed your birthday. Damn, sorry.
That's all right.
Not his actual birthday, but his
August 9th.
Yeah, August 9th. Wow. So about a year, a little bit ago, he came to us and he sent me an email one day, and he had a lot of questions, lots and lots of questions. And I love people who have questions because it shows that they really do have sincerity. It's those people that sit there and don't say anything. I can't help. I can't help you unless you ask. Amy and I have this thing. If somebody has the balls enough to ask, I will answer, no matter what. Call, write, what have you. He sent me an email, and I picked up the phone, and I called him. And what did you say?
Max Sparrow? The owner of the company? I can't believe it.
Right. It was because I cannot be set like it's at some sort of pedestal to where nobody can reach me or what have you. That's for scam artists. That's for people who don't want to be bothered. They only want to take your money. They don't want to do nothing. You got to be approachable. You got to be able to talk to people, and they got to be able to reach you, and you got to be able to reach them. Now, it's got its pros and cons. At first, Mike was very, I won't say offensive, but you're pretty on edge. You had a pretty big chip on your shoulder. One thing I knew right away, I didn't put that chip there. That chip had been there for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't take responsible for the chip, but what I could take responsibility for was me being able to talk to him and find out what it was. Mike provided a lot of information at that point. And I found out easily enough that Mike's center of gravity for his trader's mind was around being ripped off and being hurt and trying to find that thing that was going to get his money back. And there's even still some tendencies every once in a while that will always bring you back there. I even get knee-jerked with that. One thing we did find out, we both love meatballs, right?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about Mike's traveling Wilbur impression here in a minute. All right. So what are we going to talk about tonight, Mike, is about our review of our trader's mind and what it really is. And some of you may have gone through the classes on board. We have a version of this system free in our traders or dextrader.com network. But I'm going to really go through and express this tonight and make it very quickly for you. But I want you all to have a quick understanding what you're getting yourself into if you're going to be doing trading. We're going to be talking about a review of the trader's mind, some of the things you're going to need before you even step foot into making a single trade or open up a platform or what have you. I'm going to show you a platform for MetaTrader 4 very quickly, some very quick stuff just to get in and get out and sort of show you the indicators in there. I'm going to show you a 5-minute strategy and some of its moving parts. But before I do, I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of series information here about what we're going to be doing in the trader's mind. Basically, and I've said this to Mike a few times, and I've said this to other people, do you realize that any strategy can work for you? Mike, do you realize that?
Yes. You work the process enough, right. It'll work.
If you could do something what I refer to as the clock on the wall theory, right? You go to Nadex at 3 o'clock every day, and you go to the Euro USD, and you do a buy for 4 o'clock. That's a strategy. Now, can this strategy be successful? Well, you don't know until you put the time in and you do data collect and you're disciplined because you're always there at 3 o'clock. You're not there at 3:01. You're not there at 3:34. You're there exactly at 3 o'clock. So it takes the discipline. You also need to know and have a consistent risk management program, because if you're trading one contract or 7 or then 10 and then 4 and 3, you don't have consistency in your data collection. So you don't know what works. And lastly, you definitely, in any strategy, need to demo the hell out of it to protect yourself. We had one consumer with us for a long time. And he constantly made the argument that I don't need a demo because if I practice and I do trade with live money, I'll learn faster. Well, you'll be broke quicker too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much money you have. But the understanding here is that you go from an idea that any strategy can work. It's no longer about will it work. Sorry, hang on one second. It's no longer about will it work. It's like, how can I make it work? So just like I showed you the strategy on the clock on the wall going to there at 3 o'clock, you might find that, okay, I did this 1,000 times and I won 800 times and I lost 200 times. It's an 80% success rate. I'm not saying that this is what's happened. You might find that you lose 500 times and you win 500 times and you're in the hole. But it's getting to that level that knowing that any strategy will work, you just have to work the strategy, that now we can talk about anything now. And then strategy now what? No longer matters, does it? Strategy only matters when it comes down to which strategy will work the best for you. Not what strategy will work, which one will work the best. Because any strategy will work. I'll have to have a whole segment on that whole process here, because I know it takes some mental grasping to grab that. You know, not acuity. You know, you're all intelligent enough. You navigated the internet to be here tonight. Okay. So let's talk about something else, and this is something I haven't talked about in a while. So it feels good to see this old mantra back up here in front of me again. Is the pathway. And I refer to this pathway because this is like getting prepared in any physical event, right? Because your brain, considered a muscle, right? You consider your brain a muscle kind of thing, right? And that muscle needs to be activated and done and worked with, right? So if you do anything physical, let's say swing a bat, swing a club, bounce a ball, throw a ball, kick something, fight something, do whatever, build anything, swing anything, do anything, you have to be prepared. Let's just pretend that this is stretching or working out or what have you. But learning how to practice to do something, learning how to build something, it all comes in that first part. You have to learn it. The mechanics behind it. What does it look like? That's a bat, that's a ball, that's a football, that's a goalpost, that's a net. That's a hammer, that's a screwdriver. You have to learn what these things are in order to become proficient stage. If you never knew what baseball was, you never even seen a baseball or a bat or what have you, and somebody just came up and handed you to it, you might be able to figure that you should swing it. You may not swing it the right way. So you have to put the time in to learn. Now, luckily enough, we have about, I don't know, a gajillion videos on board that are nicely done and put into a very short sequence, so you can start to learn what the process is very quickly. Now, once you do this, oh, by the way, this section is always free on all of our sites. This very beginning rudimentary training is free, because I do that for a reason, because I want you, before you go to try to get to here, before you try to get to earn, or even to train, because you're going to need to train with the signals, before you get to there, I want you to not have to worry about spending any money, right? So I'm using even a part in this right now. Even training is free at this point, but we're going to show you some things here tonight. So once you learn, you watch the videos, you read some of the stuff, you get to see in practical use the demo system over on Nadex, that kind of stuff. You then have to start to train. And what does training involve, Mike?
Basically, you're learning about the system, how the system works, how it the ins and outs of it, how you can put yourself in a demo situation to get your mindset right to demo before you go live. It's very, and it's an integral part of our business that we go and demo anything new, and I mean, you ingrain that in my head. Um, just keep the process going. Even if you've been away for a couple weeks, if I go on vacation, you expect me to demo what I've been doing for a year just to see if everything's okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, let me be very honest with you. Your mindset can shift when you haven't used it enough. If you haven't I mean, I don't care. Yeah, you'll get the fundamentals. You know the fundamentals. So if somebody who's brand new might have to go demo for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or what have you, or a couple of days or what have you, or you go do 50 5-minute trades. Who knows, right? Whatever it is. But somebody who's been doing it for a while might only have to do a couple of days and maybe 10 5-minute systems, right? So it really depends on how quick you can snap back into that. But you got to snap your mentality back in. So teaching you the fundamentals of the process in demo, and like Mike says, ingraining that into your system, that you always train in this, you protect yourself. And what are you protecting? One, you're protecting your mentality, right? You're opening up, because when you trade live, it's a completely different monster. Your mentality is affixed to every single penny. And we're here to teach you how to break that cycle of it. So once you start doing that, you need to put a lot of time and effort into this process, and it's going to take time. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. The next phase is earning. And earning is when, once you've gone through the calculated amount of trades that you need, I could say 1,000, you might be 2,000, or it might be 200. It doesn't really matter. But once you get to that psychological point, now I'm ready to earn, you pull that trigger. Now that trigger involves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, whatever it is. You got to fund your account. You got to make sure that you're only trading with one account or one contract a piece. Only lose 2 trades in a row and then quit for the day, or I only need to make a certain amount, get to your goal, right? You're going to have a flow chart of things that you're going to be using during that time. These other two are a little bit more advanced, and I don't really need to go into them too much tonight. Because if you're more of a loner, or just somebody who's here to make a couple extra bucks on the side or do this as a hobby, this may not, be very acceptable for you. But I tell people, if you're going to do something, associate yourself with other people of the like mind, because you can work with each other on those things. I don't want you to emulate. I don't want you to try to be that person, but I want you to associate yourself with other people that have the same goals as you do, that they have the same pathway as you, because you gain power by that. I gain power by Mike being here. Mike gains power by many other people being here. I gain power by the people that call and talk to me, and I get to associate with them on a daily basis. I talk to them in chat, and email, on the phone. This last part here is all about duplication, and this gets boring as hell. Once you've arrived to this whole thing, duplication is very difficult because life gets in the way. Oh, I got a birthday party to go into, and I'm sick today, but you have to have a good plan for duplication. This makes it fun, though. I mean, you get to meet people that are in there making money, and you're making money, and you're working from home, you're doing your thing, and it's cool. Fun. Now, we're talking about strategy. We're talking about mastering the strategy. I'm going to breeze through this one here because this one's more really for the later part. But once you do master your strategy and you get the next word is very, very important. You must become consistent. This equation becomes the most important equation other than the one you just saw of your life. You can apply this to everything that you do in your life. Once you become consistent at trading, this isn't about winning all of your trades. This is about winning more trades than you lose. And once that value becomes consistent, you simply add volume. This will get you to your goal. We'll talk about this in great detail in many of the videos on board on why it's important, from the incremental crawl to how do you protect yourself from when to not add volume, right? The revenge trade, you can say. All right. I want to say that I want to review some of this stuff here, but I want you to kind of understand that picking a strategy out of a hat, there's so many different strategies. We've tested over 300. I created an actual program. I'm a programmer as well. and programmed a strategy tester to test from all different things, from the London Open to the breakout system, range trading, the sausage sushi thing that went around for a while, which is just another fancy name for a range breakout trade for the evening time, everything. So anything that I heard that was out there, from loophole trading and loophole strategies, which most strategies are about, to what is the most reliable strategy. And it's something that we found for our DEX signals and even to our DEX trader, and those simple systems. And then our daily trades are based on a range breakout network. And that solution in there became very powerful to us because we had data. And that's where we really started to excel. Now, what do we suggest for you to be able to do at this beginning phase? Well, one of the things we have to do besides picking a strategy is that we have to sort of pick a time frame. And this is where most people kind of get a little worried. How long is this going to take me? Because what? Time's money, right? In order for you to get as many trades under your belt, you must either take a time trade or find a time period that allows you to trade often, right? We're kind of all used to about this. We say it takes about 1,000 trades to get the feel of it. Do you agree with that statement, Mike?
Oh, if not more, yes.
Yeah, probably even more than that. Well, let me show you what it looks like if you take 1,000 trades to do it. If you were to do the dailies, 2.5-hour trades, about 15 a day. We could probably do 15 a day, but you're working from 8 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock at night. That'll take you about 3 months. If you do 1,000 intradays, you're going to take 1-hour trades, about 30 a day, and that'll take you about a month. Well, it'll take you about 3 months to do the up top one. It'll take you about a month and a half to do the 1-hour trades. You do about 1,000 5-minute trades, 5 an hour. This will take you about a week, except for you, Mike, which you kind of did them in 3 days.
Yep.
Yes. But this guy, I tell you, this is one of the reasons why I really found him to be very responsible and everything. Is because he found such a niche into working so hard to make it happen. I just couldn't ignore that. Now that we kind of have an idea, the 5-minute series, the 5-minute system, this is not about you trading live in 5 minutes. If you're in our 5-minute network, you better know that if you're in there and you want to trade live with these things, you better be really, really good, right? You want about an 80% success rate or more. All right. But let me get to some of this right now. Choosing a strategy. We're just gonna choose the one that we usually use on all of it. It's called the double stow, the double stochastic. And this is pretty important because it only has a few moving parts to it. It's an oscillator system, which you don't really need to know about right now. You're just going to be following a few key points of this, and I'll show you what they look like in the system. And we do this for a reason, because we want you to follow a rule set, right? Now, like I said before you think this is the save all strategy, oh, I'm going to be able to use this and trade for free and not have to do you don't have to do signals. You can use this to trade for free. And if, like I said, any strategy works, you just have to find it. This might be your beginning and save all, webinar. You're like, all right, thanks, Max. I'll see you later, and I'll take my double stow and head for the door. That's okay. All right. You might find something in this webinar tonight that might open this way up. But we got better tools inside that can make you and sharpen this system down even better. And some of you have already started to witness that. Some of you are watching that system inside and maybe not utilizing it to its full fundamental. You might not be applying some of the trader's mind theory to this process. If not, schedule an appointment, get on with the consult with Mike or myself or somebody else within that system. If you're doing 5 minutes, probably Mike Fick is best, right? If you want Trader's Mind series and you're trading dailies and intradays and NA intradays and SR maxes, you want to talk to me, right? So let's get to the next part. One thing that you will have to learn right away is how to lose. And I know, before you go all like ape shit and thinking like, I don't want to lose, I want to win, win, win. Absolutely, right? But what's more important, Mike? What do you think? What do you think affects you the most?
Always is mindset. If you told me more than anything, do not let your emotions take over. So you handle the wins. You take a second and you say, hey, that's great. And you handle the losses. Oh, man, that sucked. But that quick, in and out, boom.
Yeah,
clear
exactly.
mind.
Timothy says loss affects him most, right? And, I think I think they affect me evenly now because I'm sort of no mind in between them both. But in the very beginning, loss got me confused. Loss put me in a section where I would double, triple guess myself. Is this the right system? Oh, I just lost 2 in a row. Did I make the right choice? Am I, you know, and I'm talking only 2 trades. I'm not talking like a lost week or something, right? And I'm like switching. I went from like, when I was trading the stochastic system, you know, it's crossover stochastic, I was like, I just lost a trade. I can't lose. I need 90% success. Who needs 90% success? You know what it takes to get 90% success? Well, yeah, I do, because I had 92% success on our 5-minute system for 3 weeks running because I killed myself to do it. Studied the charts, looked at every single one, went that bout. But ultimately enough, I didn't need to have all that nonsense. Now, losses misdirected me and pushed me to other places that I didn't need to be. And wins made me a little bit too overconfident, where I threw a lot of money at it when then I'd hit this. And then I'd try to go win it back by doubling up. And then I'd be going back over here, be double guessing myself. And then I'd be going back over here because I just lost that one, right? So the idea that it affects you evenly is when you begin to really start to, I guess, evolve into your trader's mind process, because now you have to be able to handle the win calmly by applying the methods of even trading, and handle the lose and the loss just as calmly, because it's never about the macro or the micro. Okay? It's about the macro look of the overall system. How many wins, you know, to how many losses. Is more important than this right here. Because even a 60% win ratio, if you're buying your contracts good enough, can still be a winning system. The process itself for losing really comes back around. It's not about the overall win or loss. Some people can't stand being in the red on Nadex. I used to be that way. I hated being in the red. I feared like I made a mistake. I would watch the trade and I'm like, damn, I made a mistake. I picked the wrong direction. No, let me tell you that the market is moving like this all the time, right? And if this is our trade, I'm a winner, I'm a loser. I'm a winner, I'm a loser. I'm a winner, I'm a loser, right? I mean, yeah, we get those every once in a while, our trades up here, and this is what it does, and we have a sell, and we're like, yay, I'm a winner. I'm a winner for an hour. And then last 5 minutes of the trade, it goes like this. And then you're bowing your head going, I'm a loser. We don't want that emotion. We basically want to make the confidence to make the direction, pull the trigger, and make it happen. And if we have the right ratio, if we've done the demo, if we've done the work, and we have the consistency, then you just let it play out and let it do its thing. Let it be the numbers. Okay, so let's talk about that. We're going to focus more on the setup and the flow than we are of the result in the very beginning of this process, right? We're going to use a system called MetaTrader 4. Some of you can use the web-based charts. If you're not used to using MetaTrader 4, don't worry about all that nonsense. We have a system on board that you can have a web-based chart. You can test out with that 5-minute system in there. It doesn't use a stochastic. It uses an emerging time-based thing, but it doesn't matter what. Remember, strategy doesn't matter at that point. The process of getting a good trade, validating trend, looking at direction, all those things, that's all that matters. Okay? There's even our own DEX data charts that are on board that has its 5-minute system on there. So there's so many different little things that you can use DEX signals for, DEX Trader for, I'm sorry, to be able to get to this mindset. So you don't have to use MetaTrader. Okay, we discussed winning and losing. You don't want to get stuck into trading because, listen, this whole part about the psychological mountain that you run onto, it's always about not so much, you know how like they say when you make a mistake, it's not the mistake you made, but it's what you do next. That's all this is. What do you do next? You trade. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump in here, see if I got everything set up properly here. I'm just going to quickly show you here on the desktop here. I like to have things, now my desktop's crazy, right? Please don't hold this against me.
Oh, look at that.
It's dirty, dirty,
I'm
dirty,
just
ugly,
kidding.
ugly, dirty. All right,
You
so
you saw mine.
yeah, well, this is my this is Trader's Way. I'm using MetaTrader 4. Very easy to use. We have MetaTrader Mayhem inside to show you how to use it if you don't know how to use it. I'm just going to add a simple chart. Now, when I add my charts, they look like this. If you add a chart, if this is the first time you've done it, it'll probably look like this, right? So, and probably have a grid on it and all that kind of look like this, and it may start out something like this, right? So it's stupidly simple on getting all this stuff moved back over. I'm just going to not show you in this video how to do that. In MetaTrader Mayhem, I show you how to do that. I like white on with blue and red because it's just prettier to me, okay? I don't like the darker colors. All right, so really simply, this right here is a simple chart. We're on a 15-minute chart. It doesn't matter what level we're on. I'm not going to go really too much into price action and movement. We're just going to look like each bar has is a battle, is a war, right? The blues are bulls, which means it goes up, and the reds are bears, which means it goes down. When you've had price action moving up, 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 and it ends up closing bigger than it opened, that's a bull bar. When it loses more than it opened and it closes out lower than it opened, that's a bear bar. So here the bulls won, there the bears won. When you get a movement where these little peaks and valleys happen, and it's like a flow, you'll see that these peaks of highs get higher and higher and higher. That's an uptrend. When they get lower and lower and lower, that's a downtrend. It's very, very simple to understand. Every time frame from a 1-minute chart to a 5-minute chart, if you didn't see me hit on 15-minute or 30-minute or hour or day or week or month, you wouldn't know which one was which, right? Unless you look down here too and seen it there's October, February, what have you, right? But it really comes down to that all charts behave the same. Some more erratic, because if you come down to a finite process, you'll get little things called gaps. And these little gaps that you get is when the market moves so fast that the system can't keep up with it. That's a 5-pip gap, right? But don't worry about it. It's not something that's harmful. We're just looking at what the differences are between the time frames. Now, movement, whether or not be up or down, is always it's always linear too, right? So you're moving from left to right and up and down. That's where you get this chart-like heart rhythm going on, okay? And it's our job to guess direction and volume, okay? Because we're looking at what does it take if we know that this is heading downwards, and right here I get an action or an event or something that says go ahead and trade. Is it with what just showed me, or is it against it? Because sometimes things can be tricked. And let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to add to this chart a very simple indicator. And it should be on the left-hand side on your indicator. It's called stochastic. And before I go into, what all the different variables are, you don't need to know what they are. I'm just going to use 1433 right here. And there's no real reason to, for, or against any other number in there. You don't need to know any of that at this point, because that's just going to fill up the brain cavity for no reason whatsoever. We're just looking for a consistent value, okay, to work with. So I have the first one on here, but let me tell you just a little bit about what it is. The stochastic of being an oscillator or what have you basically tells a story of the history. One line is what the history has done. The other is current, right? We call one the movement, the other is a signal. And in that process, there is when tickets are sold and volume is done, it begins to move up or what have you, gets to a point where we refer to this as the overbought area, this little dotted line. So when it travels up here, that means that there's only a certain amount of finite prices that can be done. So when there's too many, it starts to then start to travel downwards and go to the oversold area. So overbought, oversold. these actions that happen. Now, I'm not explaining it exactly to the T because I'm trying to keep it very layman at this point for this video and for myself. But the process becomes that every single one of these movements becomes an action or an event. When you get a crossover of one line to another, is an event. Something big's happening, something maybe not so great, but maybe something really huge at this point. And you don't get to understand what those are until you have started to learn how to trade them and you start to notice them. You might discount anything that's over in this overbought section until it penetrates the overbought area or overbought area. So what we're looking for in a strategy right now is direction and what we call convergence. And in this convergence, we're looking for which way is the trend heading? A trend can be one of three things: up, down, or sideways. Sideways trending is usually when you can't really depict a high, highs getting higher or lows getting higher or lows getting lower or highs getting lower. It only kind of just gravitates in between, right? It's called a sideways trend. If that happens, then you kind of know that, hey, listen, it's probably not a good idea to trade at the moment, right? We're going to put this on a 5-minute chart, and I want to quickly show you why it's important. It kind of changes just a little bit, right? And we can kind of see that we're sort of heading up in a upward trend. The highs are getting higher, right? So we kind of know that if I get a signal that says, hey, do a buy, this would be a pretty good deal, right? Because you want to go with the trend, the overall trend. And this is called top down. We're looking from a 5-minute chart down to a 1-minute chart to do an entry. And what we're waiting for on a 1-minute chart is direction on the stochastic. So once all the lines are facing upwards and it's close to a 5-minute period, we're going to enter a trade at this point. Now, before we do that, I'm going to add on another stochastic, and this one's going to have a little bit different variable on board. I don't want you to feel too confused or overwhelmed at this point. I just want you to see that this is all about following, I guess, multiple things that are going to give you a confirmation on a series. Using this double stochastic process, what happens is that we know that we're in an uptrend. We know that each stochastic should be pointing up at this point, or have their ebbs and flows moving higher as well. You see? Moving higher, moving higher. Now, we could wait for this stochastic to come back around and come back up again. And this would be at this point, because I'm not going to force a trade here, since this is coming out of the oversold area and it's heading back upwards at this point, we would want to wait for this to do the same thing. So you have one, a flow of, it's an up pattern or an uptrend. Two, you have the stochastic pointing up and all 4 lines are pointing upwards. Now, even though that this one is sort of pointing down right now, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that once the 5-minute period happens, so once it's 5 minutes, 7:45, okay, we want to be able to enter a signal. So let's put that to the side there, and let's go over here to Nadex and have a look. Nadex uses a 5-minute binary system that's pretty powerful. I'm going to use the Euro USD just like we have, okay? And I want you to see easy that the getting into a trade is very, very simple. Now, we're about to look at a 5-minute on the Euro USD, and you're waiting for the stochastic. Now, this may not be the best pair to be on. I'm going to just quickly make a template. Save templates. 5 minutes, double stow. I haven't done this in a while. Okay, so I'm going to pull over to British Gold Pound. The template. And where did I just put that? Oh, here it is. Okay. We go down to the 1 minute. Okay. So I'm looking over a period of time. We look like we're, let's see, with the 5 minute, we're sort of a sideways, right? We don't really have, this isn't a really good pair either. So let's use the USD JPY. All right. We're in a downward trend, but we got a good signal for an up purchase on because all the lines are heading upwards. And we're still within the first minute of the trade. Oh, no, we're not anymore. Okay. So one of the rules that we sort of focus on when you're first starting to trade with the 5-minute series here is that you want to get in and out within the first minute. Well, you want to get in within the first minute of the trade. So from 4 minutes and 59 seconds down to, the top of that process. Now, if I didn't switch back and forth, I could have probably had, or if I had all three of them up, I could have probably done that. You will also use what we refer to as the at the money statement, which is right in the middle. Okay? So you have one up and one down from the middle, and then you have the fringe. So you have center, one up, one down, and then fringe. A high fringe and a low fringe. When the 5-minute signal first comes out, it comes out with this middle one in mind. It's usually at that price structure of that 1917. And then it does 2 pips up and then 2 pips up from there. 2 pips down and then 2 pips down from there. And then the market makers that are not employed by Nadex apparently, then start adding prices in on what they want to sell contracts for or have you purchase contracts for. Once you do, you go into a battle with them. You win or they win. Either one, Nadex still gets a fee. So $1 in, $1 out on both sides. Okay? So what we're looking for in this very beginning part of training is being able to, one, spot the direction, get a good validation of your trade, choose the trade, get in the first minute, okay? And then wait for it to get to its either some money. You're not looking even in the first 100 trades. Here, let me take you back over to here. We sort of set this up. You can add an EMA smooth for help you with trend as well, and I can show you that here in a second. But let me set some of the rules, right? We're using the 5-minute. We're checking the trend. We're going to go the direction of the double stows. We've done a little bit of top down, not on the 15, but on the 5-minute to find trend. And then we're going to get in the trade within the first minute and take profit by the second minute, right? This is the first 100 trades you're going to, what happened here? It's not stopping. Okay, so this is the first 100 trades you're going to do is that, you're going to do this process. And this is, you're in the first minute and you're out by the end of the second minute. And what this does is that it trains you how to, one, use Nadex. Because once you're able to get to that flow in 1 minute, out by the second minute, and you do 100 trades with that. With that, you don't care what the success rate is. Why? Because you're just learning how to hit the nail on the head. Get in the first minute, get out in the second minute. Get in the first minute, get out by the second minute. Done, right? Then the next 100 trades are all about, okay, because you're also going to want to make sure that you're getting in for a profit between $25 and $45. If it's already moved away from the center one and you don't have a profit margin of $25 to $45, then you don't even worry about it. Getting into it because there's plenty of things out there, right? Because what we want to do is those first 100 trades, you're going to do that 2-minute thing, right? You're going to be in for the first minute. Right? This pen keeps doing it to me. You're going to be in the first minute. You're going to be out by the second. So this is the 1. This is the 2. And when I say that, so from 4 minutes 59 down to 3 minutes 59, you're in, and then by the last another minute from there, you're hunting whether or not this is going to be successful or not. Doesn't really matter. You're just going to get out before that time period. Win, lose, or draw, right? Now, within that time period, there's going to be plenty of times that it's going to bounce into the green, right? You're going to see this thing jump a few times. We're about to hit another 5-minute trade here. I'm looking. We're just going to jump into a trade. I'll show you what I mean. Since we don't really care about getting in and getting out, let me show you. We're going to use the USD JPY. We're going to go from the middle. USD JPY. We go from the middle. We're going to do a purchase. We're going to place the order. And that's all we're trying to do. If it jumps down to there, we can either alter it and amend it, or when we first do it, we just hit market order. But very simple. So if you would just click this, go from limit order to market order, you could set that. It'd be very, it would have been a lot easier. So we're in within the first minute. We again, didn't, I was blabbering away, but let's just pretend we did get in the first minute. So now before it hits the second minute, we're sort of waiting for some movement here. Before minute 2, so not the second minute, I'm sorry, it's minute 2. So once this hits down to 1 minute 59 seconds, that's when we're looking to exit the trade. And again, this was probably already, this was out of the money when I clicked it, so I wasn't really paying attention. But that's basically what we're doing. So we're learning at this point from these little mistakes that are being made, right? So even if it does say for a buy, why isn't it working? Well, this is a downtrend, right? We have a nice little sideways, and then it sort of punched into a downtrend. I went with an uptrend, right? I'm on a 15-minute chart, not a 5-minute, not a 1-minute chart. Are you guys seeing this now? So this isn't about perfection when you're first doing it. Why isn't it working? Well, I just verified it's not working because I screwed it up. Because I went in the wrong directions. I didn't have my chart on the right one. I didn't have my time frame in the right way. If I had, I'd be in the win at the moment. I'd also be coming to get out of the trade at the moment. Are you guys getting a feel of learning from this method of following a flow, doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and doing that 1,000 times? By the time you're done, you'll be pulling up a chart going, okay, this is a down, everything's done. And 1, 2, 3, you're in. You're looking at this 10 seconds before the top of that 5 minutes, and you're ready to go with your direction. You might even have something like this going on, right? You might have all 4 of your pairs down here with that direction on the 1 minute, ready to go, right? You would have gotten in on this one. This one would have been a buy. This one would have been an easy buy. Okay. At this time, I'm just going to pop out of the trade and place order. And even though that was a loser, it doesn't matter because it was a winner in my book because it taught, if I'm learning as a novice, learning from this position, what did I do wrong? Where did I need to go right? Okay. So let's jump back over to the webinar real quick. So the first 100 trades you're going to do in that mentality. Just get in, get out by the second minute. Get in, get out by the second minute. Once you get that persistence, doing it on a 5-minute chart prepares you for that quick process. But then later on, when you're doing on the dailies or the intradays, you have time, but you know how to handle, if something goes wrong, you have more time to act and to think then. Oh, look, let me check this. Oh, yeah, let me get to there. Let me fix this. Let me put a new trade in. Where does that work? Why did that working order fill down there? On a 5-minute, a working order pops up and you have to rush. But at least you know where to go. You've been etched, you've been burned into, this is what I have to do. So that first 100 trades, you're going to be doing the one and getting out. The second batch of 100 trades, you're going to be doing, you basically want to be able to get in that first minute, of course, right? And I want you to grab any money you can possibly get, right? The moment it jumps into profit, it gets into $2. It gets into $2 profit. It gets into $2 profit. Grab it. Anything over your fees, right? That's what I used to tell people in the very beginning. Anything over your fees, grab it. Don't even think. Just get your money. Don't let it go to, and if it goes $20 against you, like after the third minute in, just get out. You're still getting out in the second to last minute, at minute 2, but you're seizing your money. Get any money you could possibly get. Learn to do that. It gives you a little bit of idea of scalp, right? But scalping doesn't really do you good unless you can scalp out the negative and the positive. If you don't know how to scalp out for negative, when it's going against you, when you're doing bad, then don't scalp out your positive. Learn how to let that trade go all the way to the end to expiry. That's where the most money is. And trust me, if you're looking at it going, well, is that $5 extra really going to do me any good? Yes, it will. It works for your numbers. Because later on in other systems, you're going to learn strategies in Dex Trader if you decide to go over how a $32.68 strategy, $32 profit margin, is a lot better than a $20.80, of course, right? Where you're only getting $20, but you're risking 80. Of course, that's better, and any nut could see that. But why does this make it so much better? Well, because you win this one, you win $32. If you lose 68. But if all you have to do is win 2 back to get back to break even. Here, you got to do 4. So it really comes around to learning how to get in and do the demo, do the trades, get that under your belt. If you're not doing that, you're not learning how to, because I'm teaching you in the very beginning, this first 100 trades is all about, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's learning the production. It's learning how to get in and get out. I wanted to be able to show you more trades, but there's hundreds of stuff in there that you could do to do more of these trades. I can only show you 1 or 2 in a short period like this, but I want you to be able to get in and start with this mentality. Don't worry about what your strategy is. Any one of them will work. Learn how to do one and do it well. This method of training and providing and getting your mentality going, we taught to over 4,000 people so far, and I'm proud of that. Now, the Nadex system, using a quick time frame and doing all that stuff, don't worry about trying to make your life into a 5-minute trader. Okay, you might be good at them, you might be okay at them, but it's not something that you're going to want to progress in. Now, if you buy into the network and you buy into the 5-minute system, don't worry. If you bought into 5-minute, you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm already trained and I'm not doing really great on 5 minutes. Can I go over to the base and get? Absolutely. Okay, we're not here about just keeping you in the one thing, and we'll apply your money that you've spent there over to the other. Whatever we have to do, you just reach out to Amy, and she will get you all set up. Okay. Now, Mike, you've done a tremendous amount. We're running out of time. I went completely long-winded. I apologize, but you've done thousands of trades so far in the 5-minute series. Has it made you who you are in a trader for everything else you do?
Well, that and your guidance, but yes, the sheer amount, prepares you for the next step. As far as demo is concerned, to go live, that sheer volume of 2,000, 3,000 trades, I was very hesitant to pull the trigger in the beginning, and talking to you and getting more confident, and that I knew I could do it, and then bang, when I hit the ground running, till after my first loss, and then I'm like, "Arr!" But then that was fine. It really makes a difference. My mentality was 5-minute trades. You were changing my mentality back to the intradays and the dailies, and they are much more consistent, I must say. So I thank you for that.
Consistency, you're welcome. But consistency
twice in the same week, Max.
I know, right? But it's really about consistency is your own perception. Okay, because your idea of consistency might be a little bit different than mine or somebody else's, but it's that ideal of consistency that you have to have in order for you to be able to move to the next level, and that comes with a lot of work. At this time, I want to thank everybody for watching. I try to make this a little bit of knowledge in here. That double stochastic system, don't feel overwhelmed with that whole process. Remember, we have a 5-minute system inside that has a web-based chart and all that stuff. If you want to learn more, join dextrader.com for free and go through the Trader's Mind series. That system in there will show you exactly everything I showed you tonight, but it has just everything more in detail. I just wanted to breeze through some of it and kind of show you some things that it is about the mindset. It is about the movement, being able to get in, get out, and start teaching yourself along the way what it is to win, but also what it is to lose, how to adjust and not adjust and overcompensate for those times and those processes, okay? So I hope you got something from tonight. I hope you see that our sincerity and our integrity and our transparency is above and beyond. So if you need anything, and you come on board, if you're a paid customer, even if you're not a paid customer, if you just need to kind of ask a few questions, please do so. I'm leaving the office here in a little bit, but I'm usually here to 9 o'clock at night. All right. Also, if you are a paid customer, go in and set up a consult. Meet with Mike, meet with myself. Some of you already have. I have members that have gone through the Trader's Mind series 4 or 5 times, and they don't mind because they get a lot of stuff from that. Somebody leaves, goes on vacation, they come back, they do 5-minute trades, like Mike says. He trades some demo, he gets back into his mentality. It's all about your mind. Anybody can do this as long as they allow themselves to do it. Any strategy will work as long as you allow it to do. All right? I'm Max Farrell. We're going to have a questions and answers real quick. We'll see if anybody has some after we turn off the recording, but everybody else is watching this after the fact. Thank you very much for being here. And Mike, thanks a lot for being my constant case study.
Thanks, Max.
Back up, baby. All right. I will let you all go. You have a great day. I look forward to seeing you inside. And as always, trade well.